and play on 2nd and 10. That's his youth right there.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
It's time for a college football game-by-game prediction and a roster discussion video for the Texas A&M Aggies. Mike Elko's first recruiting class at Texas A&M was a really good one. It ranked at 7th in the country, and it had 2 5-star players and 17 4-star players. But I'm not convinced yet that Mike Elko is going to be able to get Texas A&M's program to being a great football program, because I know it was just his first year there last year, but he won 8 games that year at Texas A&M, and then he won 9 games in his first year at Duke, which is a team that is so much less talented than Texas A&M is. Texas A&M could really be called Texas 8-4 because they have so much talent every year, but then they haven't been able to do better than 8-4 in over a decade. So starting on the offensive side of the roster, they were solid here last year, but not great. They averaged 28.3 points per game. They were really good though at running the football. They averaged 195.5 yards rushing per game, and I think they're going to be a really good running team again. And I think they'll probably be a little bit better overall offensively this year. So at quarterback, Marcel Reed was a 4-star recruit. He played in 11 games last year and started 8 games. And he threw 240 passes last year and completed 147 of them, which was 61.3%, which is decent. And he threw for 1,864 yards and it had a 7.8 yards per throw average, which is pretty good. And he threw up 15 touchdown passes. And he also had 547 yards rushing and 7 rushing touchdowns on 116 carries, averaging 4.7 yards per carry. Running is his best thing, but I think he's a pretty good passer too. I think he'll probably have close to 3,000 yards passing and around 1,000 yards rushing. This
Moss to his left. You'd figure they would feed him down here. They do. Keeper. He pulled it and scores. What?
Season. And at wide receiver, they do lose Noah Thomas, who was their best one last year. But they bring in a really good receiver from NC State, Kevin Concepcion, who I think will probably be their go-to wide receiver this year. So he had a really good freshman year in 2023 of 71 catches for 839 and 10 touchdowns, averaging 11.8 a catch. But then he took a step back in 2024. He had in 12 games 53 catches for 460 and 6 touchdowns. But I think that was probably because NC State as a team took a step back. They were terrible last year. But besides Concepcion, Texas A&M doesn't really have anybody proven at wide receiver. Now at running back, they're going to be really good. I think this is the deepest running back room in college football. they've got three good running backs. Le'Veon Moss returns, and he was the starting running back last year until he had a season-ending injury. But he played in 9 games and had 765 and 10 touchdowns on 121 carries, averaging 6.3 a carry. And they've got Amari Daniels, who has been involved in the running back rotation for the last 2 years. And he played in 12 games last year and started 3 games and had 618 uh, yards. 661 yards and 8 touchdowns, averaging 4.8 yards per carry on 139 carries. And they've got five-star running back Ruben Owens. He missed all but the last 2 games last year because of a injury that he suffered in practice. But as a freshman in 2023, he was only running back number 3, but Texas A&M used all 3 running backs that year, and he had in that year 385 yards and 3 touchdowns on 101 carries, averaging at 3.8 yards per carry. But Texas A&M had a bad offensive line that year, and that won't be the case this year. I think Ruben Owens is going to have a good year. So on the offensive line, Texas A&M is going to be really good because they were really good last year, and they have all 5 starters coming back and 6 with starting experience. Including a right guard, Armaj Reed Adams, who is an elite player, one of the best guards in the country, who only allowed 1 sack and 8 total pressures last year, and left tackle Trey Zahn, who's an elite tackle, one of the best in the country, who only allowed 3 sacks and 16 total pressures last year. And then defensively, they gave up on average 21.1 points per game, which is good but not great. I think they'll probably be a little bit better than that this year. But on the defensive line, they do lose 2 really good players, Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart, who got drafted in the first round. But they've got Cassius Howell coming back, who had last year 40 tackles and 4 sacks and 7 pass breakups and 34 total quarterback pressures and an interception and a forced fumble. And they've got Albert Regis coming back, who had last year 36 tackles and a half a sack and 6 pass breakups and 3 total quarterback pressures. And they bring in from Florida a 4-star defensive lineman, TJ Searcy, who had last year 34 tackles and 2 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. He played in 12 games last year and started 5 games, but he'll be a full-time starter, I think, on A&M's defensive line. And then at linebacker, they return Terrain York, who has been a really good player for them the last 2 years. Last year, he had 82 tackles and 2.5 sacks and 4 pass breakups and an interception and 21 total quarterback pressures. And they've got Scooby Williams coming back, who played in 11 games last year, and he had 43 tackles and 4 pass breakups and an interception and a fumble recovery. But they're not real deep at linebacker. but in the secondary, I didn't realize this while watching A&M play last year, but when I was doing my research for this video, I noticed that they actually struggled in the secondary last year. A&M was only 90th at stopping the pass, giving up on average at 232.2 yards passing per game. But everybody in the secondary is back this year. They've got two really good players coming back. Cornerback Will Lee, who had in 12 games last year 42 tackles and 10 pass breakups and two interceptions, one for a touchdown.
Red zone trip for Texas. They've been efficient so far tonight. Ewers facing pressure. Ball deflected. It's intercepted. A flag is down, and Will Lee, the third, is headed for the end zone. Texas A&M.
And a forced fumble and safety Dalton Brooks, who had last year 59 tackles and two pass breakups and an interception and a sack and four total quarterback pressures. And Julian Humphrey, a cornerback that they brought in from Georgia, I think could be a really good player for them. So I think they will be improved in the secondary. So now for the game-by-game predictions. Uh, A&M's first two games of UTSA and Utah State will be big blowout wins for them. They should have a comfortable enough lead at halftime in both of these to be able to put in their second string. And now on the road at Notre Dame. So with passing in this game, Notre Dame I think has better wide receivers than Texas A&M, but Texas A&M probably has a better quarterback than Notre Dame. And while Texas A&M I think has the deepest running back room, their top two running backs I don't think will be as good of a combination as Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price will be. And but while I don't think Notre Dame will be able to shut down Texas A&M's run game, I do think they'll be able to slow it down because Notre Dame's front seven might be the best in the country. It's for sure in the top five. And A&M, while I do think they'll be good at passing this year, I don't think they'll be great. And Notre Dame's secondary, it being so good, I think A&M's going to struggle to throw the football in this game. And I do think this will be a competitive game, but I trust Notre Dame's defense more, and they're playing at home. So I think they win by about the same they did last year, at about 10 points. So now Auburn, I'm pretty confident that Texas A&M is going to win this game because it's a revenge game for them, and they're playing at home, and they're a better team than Auburn is. They've got a better quarterback, and they're better at the line of scrimmage on both sides. I think Texas A&M will win this one by a couple of scores. So now Mississippi State, this should be an easy win for Texas A&M. Mississippi State is so much worse of a team than Texas A&M is. Texas A&M is better offensively and defensively, especially defensively, and they're a better coach team, I think, and they're so much better at the line of scrimmage on both sides. Then Mississippi State is. So that alone is going to be such a mismatch that I don't think Mississippi State would have any chance really in this game. So now Florida. So there are a lot of games when I do these predictions where I wouldn't be surprised at all if it went the other way than I predicted to go, but this is not one of them. I think Texas A&M is going to win this game, and I would be shocked if they didn't win this game. Because I do not think Billy Napier is the coach to get his team ready to go on the road to play a Texas A&M, a better team than Florida is, and a really tough place to play and get the win. And comparing quarterbacks in this game, Marcel Reid, from what I saw of him and DJ Lagway last year, I'm not convinced he's a better passer than Lagway is, but I am convinced he's a better runner. And I don't think that Florida is going to be able to really stop at Texas A&M's run game. And Texas A&M's linebackers are a lot better than Florida's are, and I think they're better at the line of scrimmage on both sides. So this one could be pretty close, though. But Sunbelt Billy Napier is not getting the win. So now on the road at Arkansas, I had thought about picking an upset in this one because it is on the road, and Arkansas does sometimes play really well against good teams, even though Arkansas is not a very good team. But A&M is going to have a big advantage at the line of scrimmage, I think, on both sides over Arkansas, and they've got a better coaching staff. And I am going to go with Texas A&M to win this game. But I do think this will be close, and it wouldn't surprise me if Arkansas pulled the upset. So now on the road at LSU, I'm pretty confident this is going to be a loss for Texas A&M because it's a revenge game for LSU, and the game is at LSU. And I watched this game last year, and LSU was clearly unprepared for Marcel Reid. They had prepared for Connor Wayman, and they had actually come up with a good game plan for stopping him. Their defense was playing well, and it looked like LSU was going to win the game until Marcel Reid came in, and then LSU's defense looked completely lost. But I think now that Reid is going to be the starter, as long as he doesn't get hurt, LSU will be much better prepared for him. And LSU's defensive line, I think, is going to be better than it was last year. Anyway, I think LSU's defense will play really well in this one, and Texas A&M's defense will make this one a close game. But I don't see them being able to hold LSU under like 24 points. I do think that LSU gets this win in a pretty close one. So on the road at Missouri, similar situation with this one as to with LSU, because Missouri is going to be the home team and wanting revenge on Texas A&M, because Texas A&M gave Missouri's defense a nightmare of a game last year. Except that was Connor Wayman. Marcel Reed didn't play in that game, and this one, I watched it too, and it got out of hand quickly. And I didn't realize this until I did my research for this video, but Missouri actually had a top 20 defense in the country last year overall, and I think it could be one of the best defenses in the SEC because they've got a lot coming back defensively, and they brought in some really good transfers that I think are going to help them out. I think Missouri's defense will play a lot better this time than it did last year against the Texas A&M. And Missouri's offense, though, could be one of the worst in the SEC. But Kevin Coleman, the wide receiver that they brought in from Mississippi State that I've talked about some, that you probably don't realize this because of who he played for, but he was one of the best receivers in the SEC last year. One of Mississippi State's only good players. And he actually had a big game against Texas A&M last year. I think he'll be a problem for them. He's for sure a future NFL wide receiver. And Texas A&M, while I do think they'll be able to stop Missouri in this game, I don't think they'll be able to hold them under a couple of touchdowns. I think it's close, but I'm actually going to go with Missouri to get the win. So now South Carolina, an opposite situation than these last two games. This is the revenge game for Texas A&M, and they're the home team. And South Carolina's defense, I don't think will play as well as it did last year against Texas A&M because their run defense, I think, is going to take a big step back, and that makes that a good matchup for Texas A&M with A&M being a running team, and I don't think South Carolina will be able to run near as well as they were able to against A&M last year because their offensive line I don't think is going to be as good. This one could be close, but I think Texas A&M gets this win. So now Sanford, this will be a big blowout win for Texas A&M. They'll have their second string in at halftime, I would think. And now on the road at Texas on a Friday and a big rivalry game. So I watched most of this game last year, and both defenses played well, but it was Texas's offensive line that really made the difference. It dominated in this game. And while I've said that Texas's offensive line will take a step back this year, I think they've got other ways of making up for that. Like with pass protection, I don't think they'll need it to be quite as good this year because last year it was Quinn Ewers playing quarterback who not only wasn't a good runner, he was a complete statue. And this year they have Arch Manning, who not only isn't a statue, but he's actually a good runner. And they won't need the run blocking to be quite as good, I don't think, because last year they had their best running back, C.J. Baxter, out for the whole year because of a injury that he suffered in practice, and this year they will have him. So I do think this will be a good game, but I think Texas's defense is better, and I think they've got more good options to throw to at wide receiver. I think those two things make the difference, and I'm going with Texas to get the win by about the same amount as they did last year, about 10 points. So my prediction for Texas A&M is 8-4 overall and 5-3 in the conference. So I actually picked Texas A&M to go 10-2 and make the college football playoff last year because of what Elko did in his time at Duke. But then they disappointed my prediction. So I'm gonna have to see it to believe it with them now. But they do have the talent to go 10-2 for sure. But that will be it with this video. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.